Okay, I know that there have been a lot of questions about this this homework assignment and how to do this. So I'm just going to go through the homework because I know it's a little bit confusing. But this is something that you're going to need to know for next year. And it's not a big deal if you don't understand it fully, but I just want you to know that you've seen it before. So in the video that I had you watch about the triangle congruency theorems, it has 5 different like combinations of angles and sides that work to prove that 2 triangles are congruent. So I'm just going to draw 2 triangles down here like this. So if we have this, and I'm just going to duplicate it. Let me see. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. So obviously we know that those are congruent, right? Because I took one triangle, I copied it, and it's the exact same triangle. So with congruency, we use marks to show that angles and sides are congruent. So here, if I put one tick mark on these sides, that shows that that this side is congruent to this side. And then if I want to show that this side is congruent to this side, I'm going to put 2 tick marks. Because if you put one, then that's saying, like if I just did 1 tick mark like that, that would be saying that this side, this side, this side, and this side are all the same length, but they're not. So we need to say that this one and that one have 2 tick marks to show that those are congruent. And then this side, we're going to put 3. So that's how we show that sides are congruent. And then with angles, we use these little arcs. So this one, I'm going to put 1 arc. This one, I'm going to put 2 arcs. Oh, that's 3. I'm going to put 2 arcs. And then this one, I'm going to put 3 arcs, just like this. And that shows that this angle right here is congruent to this angle right here. And then this one and this one are congruent. This one and this one are congruent. So when we're talking about triangle congruency theorems, we need to have at least 3 pieces we need to have 3 pieces that are congruent in 2 different triangles to show that the triangles are congruent. So the first one is side, side, side. So I'm going to erase these angles just like this. So if we can prove that one side, 2 sides, if all 3 sides are congruent to each other, then the triangles are congruent. So here we have side 1, side 2, side 3, and that's congruent in the other triangle, side 1, side 2, and side 3. The next one is, we'll do side angle side. So that's saying we need to have a side, another side, and the angle has to be in between. So it doesn't matter what's going on with these 2 angles. It doesn't matter what's going on with this side. But if we show that we have, let me draw this a little better. But if we show, like if we have a side, another side, and an angle in there, and let's say this is 1, then this is 2, that is enough information to say that the triangles are congruent. So on our picture, let's say instead of having these 2 sides be congruent, we have this angle instead. That would mean that those triangles are congruent because this is a side, an angle, and a side. Okay, the next one is angle, side, angle. So now instead of having the angle be between the 2 sides, we have an angle on either side and the side has to be in between. So that would be like we have a side and we have an angle and then we have an angle. Oh, let me draw that a little better. So it's this angle, this side, and then this angle. So it's angle, side, angle. That's what we're looking for, is that pattern. So it doesn't matter if you have other pieces marked as long as you have an angle and another angle and then the side is in between them. That's angle, side, angle. Okay, the next one is angle, angle, side. So this one is saying you have an angle, and then an angle, and then a side. So the difference between these two is that the side is in between. For angle, side, angle, that's why it's in between the angles. And then for angle, angle, side, it's after. It's like not in between the two angles. Okay, so that's the difference between those two. And then the last one is different. It's called HL for hypotenuse leg. So in a right triangle, sorry, my triangles don't have very straight sides. This is a right triangle because it has a right angle. The side across from this is, sorry, just 1 second. I just had to close our window. So the side across from the right angle, this is called the hypotenuse. And then the leg, both of these two sides are called legs. So if you have a hypotenuse, which is across from a 90-degree angle, and a leg that are congruent in two different triangles, then the triangles are congruent. So what that would look like is like on number 10 here. These are both right angles. So this is our hypotenuse, and that's in both of the triangles. And then we have a leg that is also congruent. So this one is congruent. So I'm going to put yes because of hypotenuse leg. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these problems and I'm going to talk about why they're congruent if they are. So here, the last thing that you need to know is there's this thing called vertical angles. So if you have two lines that are intersecting, the opposite angles here, these are called vertical angles, and they're congruent. So on number 1, I'm going to mark these as congruent because they're vertical angles. And then number 3, we also have vertical angles here. Number 6, we have vertical angles. Number 8, we have vertical angles. And number 10, that's why I marked that. So going back up to number 1, this is a side, an angle, and a side. And then we have a side, an angle, and a side. So you can say, yes, these are congruent because we have a side, angle, side that is congruent in one triangle, and then it's congruent in the other triangle, so the triangles are congruent. The next one, these two triangles, they share a side. So it's the same side in both of them, so that side is congruent. This is a right triangle. And whenever you see a right triangle, you should think, oh, the one across from that is the hypotenuse. So we have a hypotenuse and a leg that's congruent in both of the triangles. So you would say, yes, these are congruent because of HL, which is hypotenuse leg. The next one, I already marked the vertical angles. So here we have an angle, a side, and then an angle. And then here we have angle, side, angle. So we're gonna say, yes, these are congruent because of angle, side, angle. Then we have this one. So these two triangles are sharing this side. And that side is obviously congruent to itself because it's the same side. So here we have side 1, side 2, side 3. Then we have side 1, side 2, side 3. So we have, yes, these are congruent by side, side, side. Okay, the next one. We already have side 1, side 2, so this would be side 3. So we have side, 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 side. So we're going to say yes, these are congruent by side, side, side. This one, here we have an angle, an angle, and an angle. Then we have an angle, an angle, and an angle. So in the video, I don't think that it talked about, I don't remember if it talks about angle, 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 but that's not one of our 5. We have side, 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 angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse leg. So it's not this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So angle, angle, angle does not work. So we're gonna put no on that one. On this one, we have side, side, side. Here we have side, side, side. So we're gonna put yes, these are congruent because of side, side, side. This one, we have an angle, and then a side. Then we have an angle, and then a side. So that is one of our congruency theorems. It would be yes because of angle, angle, side. Okay, now this one we have an angle, a side, and a side. Angle, side, side. So this one is SSA. And a way to remember this is if you spell it the other way, it spells a square word, so that does not work for triangle congruency. So we're gonna put no. And then this one we already said was hypotenuse leg. So I hope that this video helps you go through the homework and helps you understand it a little bit better for the quiz. Just remember that one homework and one quiz, if you don't do super well, it's not going to affect your grade a lot. But I want you to try this for, so that you know that you've seen it for next year, because it's important for next year. Okay,